This is Envision Self-Healing Podcast, episode number 33. Hi, I'm Will Fuller.
And I'm Richard Miller.
And we are the co-creators of EnvisionSelfHealing.com and are dedicated in helping you improve your eyesight and quality of life
by taking healing into your own hands. The topic of the week this week is Understanding a Holistic Approach to Natural Vision Improvement, Part 5, Blood Flow. And in the second half of the podcast, we're going to be answering a question. It's actually a follow-up question about pinhole glasses and how exactly to use them.
So Richard, how's the world of self-healing been treating you this week?
Well, this week I've been back in the real world of food.
Yeah.
And after my week of Gerson training in the Gerson therapy and eating, being fed basically 3 meals a day and 10 juices a day.
Nice.
And being back in the world of restaurants, walking in San Francisco, a restaurant at every other building,
Especially where you live as well. There's so many nice restaurants.
I know. So I've had mixed results, shall we say.
Okay.
So I have a good experience now of what I feel like when I'm sticking to the Gerson therapy and when I'm not.
Right.
And socializing and social events is still a challenge for me.
Yeah.
Going to a party and having food that's not on the diet. I went to one party and brought food with me that was from the Gerson therapy. So that was one effort I made. It took me like an hour and a half to make it, of course. But so I did that effort. But yet when I went to the party, had a burger, things like that, a beer. Not exactly on the Gerson diet. And
I'm sure it was organic.
Oh, yes, I'm sure. But I can feel how I feel when I'm on it and when I'm off of it. Like the last 2 days, yesterday I was pretty much clean. I had one egg. I had a weak moment when, because we're brainwashed to think we need meat, right?
Yeah.
So if you feel a little tired, it's like a little listless. And I was just getting up, and I'd had 2 bowls of oatmeal, which is the Gerson breakfast.
Okay. Oh, good.
And I was feeling a little like tired still, something like that. And I thought, I need protein. Because it's like 50 years of programming that this is the way you should eat, not the Gerson way, which I'd had for a week. Yeah. So I boiled one egg. I thought I'll eat one egg and see if this makes me feel better. And it didn't really change anything that much at all. Yeah. And then yesterday I was pretty clean and I felt good and clear-headed.
Good.
And no weakness. So what what does that say? It's not. It may be more other factors or mental that you feel this sense of weakness, that you reach for that burger or that egg or something like that.
And I guess it's just self-programming. You just program yourself to think these things, that you need to have protein. It's just like wearing your glasses, right? When I first broke my habit of wearing glasses, I used to put them on the side table, and as soon as I wake up, then the glasses would go on straight away. Right. Because as soon as you wake up, it's, the world's blurry. Right. I need to put my glasses on, I need to see clearly. And it's funny, when we first talk to people about not wearing their glasses, they start realizing that they never actually give their eyes a chance to see.
Right.
It's blurry before you've even tried. And yes, your vision is blurrier when you first wake up from sleeping for 7 or 8 hours.
Right.
And you've got a bit of sleep in your eyes, and the cells in your eyes need to adjust and all the rest of it.
Well, and there's something similar to this in the terms of like when you eat meat, it sticks in your gut, right? And that's one of the negative things, because it putrefies, as gross as that is. Because your gut is the intestines are so long that it sits in there for a very long time. Yeah. One of the reasons that some of the Gerson people and other people advocate that we're not meant to eat meat is the length of our intestine, because carnivores have shorter intestines, and so the meat passes through quickly. Yeah. Anyway, but you do have more sustained. If you eat a half pound of meat, your energy is easier to sustain.
Okay.
Whereas if you're eating a vegan diet, you have to be more vigilant about eating on a regular basis,
right,
or your energy drops. Mm-hmm. So which one's more natural, I guess, is the question. That's because that's people think, oh, I'll be weak. It's like, well, yeah, you do have to keep putting nutrition into your body, mm-hmm. and then you're fine, and you have the same clear-headedness without the putrefying gut.
When you first mentioned that to me, I like the idea of that it's just a perfect system. Our stomach is telling us not to get more food, get more nutrients.
True.
And more calories. That's the message. So when you eat a healthy diet, then you're getting more and more nutrients. It's like a perfect cycle. That's what your body needs to get, and that was the missing piece for me. When I juiced, I only juiced in the morning, so I never juiced throughout the day. Even though I had a nice big juice in the morning, I had my meals. But what did it for me is that I would find that maybe after my salad, I would get a little bit weak towards the afternoon, and I needed to try and get to my next dinner, or I had to eat earlier, or sometimes it just wasn't possible, so I feel shaky, and then you start thinking, I can't do this diet anymore. Mm-hmm. But when I started juicing 4 or 5 times a day,
right,
then it just sustained that.
That's a really unique thing about the Gerson diet. You can feel weak, do a juice, and for the average meat-eating person, like, juice, what's that going to do for you? But it actually picks up your energy. Yeah. You get the nutrition, and you're ready to go again. Yeah. And you haven't consumed a large chunk of, something. And
in fact, what you have consumed is lots of micronutrients.
Right, enzymes.
You're getting a lot more vitamin A and lutein and beta-carotene, everything that we need for good, healthy vision, and indeed just for a healthy body with the vitamin C and just everything. Our body is telling us to get more of it, and we're actually doing it. And I mean, it just makes it's just common sense that you're going to be healthier, and you're not going to be as sick, and your immune system's going to be stronger. And it just makes sense then with any condition that you have.
Yeah.
To be juicing. It doesn't have to be the Gerson, but just to be eating healthy and juicing throughout the day. It's just another common sense.
Yeah, and maybe we are getting it's similar to the natural vision improvement. We're trying to get back to a natural diet, and that's where everybody has the big arguments at what is the natural diet, and we get into these big debates. And maybe we just would recommend whatever works for your body the best. But
and some people, I guess I would be a little bit more anxious about suggesting it maybe with someone with muscular dystrophy. Right. Where they really need those, we're not.
It's true.
We're not really in the position to advise something like that. And those that don't know, muscular dystrophy is where the muscle deteriorates and eventually disappears. So, works its way away, so it gets a lot weaker. So it becomes difficult to function, whatever those muscles are that are being affected by the muscular dystrophy. So, but I do know we had a fantastic woman come over here from Brazil with muscular dystrophy, and she'd been working for several years, and she went from not being able to walk to she couldn't even stand up from sitting down. And by the time, after 2 years of work and the massage and doing lots of Mearschneider's work, by the end of the I think it was 14 days she did here in San Francisco, she was jumping up and down on a trampoline, and she climbed Mount Panamataya or something.
Mount Tam, you
That's
mean?
it.
Mount Tam.
Something like that.
Mount Tyre, yes.
And anyway,
Tamalpais, Mount
That's
Tamalpais. It's shortened to Mount Tam in the Bay Area.
That's good memory, though. That just goes to show how that was working.
There you go.
Audio memory. And anyway, I was speaking to her, and she says that she eats a lot of quinoa because it's a whole protein. But she also said that she had fish, but she only ever had white meat. So, I mean, it was amazing to see how she had grown. She was saying how her legs were bone, and now she had muscle there. It was really amazing to see.
Yeah. So I guess for me, I'm in the midst of this struggle of like, what is natural for me? Yeah. And
I guess I guess what I just said there and what you said previously, it comes down to the individual.
Yeah.
But I guess the problem is, if I had asked you a month ago,
I know, I would have said I have to have meat. I know. So you have to question your own beliefs and try things out and see what really works for you.
Yeah, and then be honest with yourself.
Right.
Is it really that you feel tired because you're not having meat, or is it, something else, maybe a pattern?
Yeah.
So, but what about the juicing? Are you still juicing regularly?
Not as much. And that was, you get into a busy life. It's like, man, how am I going to juice 10 times a day? So I've been doing like 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Which helps. And the reality is, on the more vegan diet, you can't. That's what I started out by saying. You can't go for 4 or 5 hours and just sort of gut it out, just so to speak. Because you will lose energy more than if you had bacon and eggs 4 or 5 hours earlier. It is a reality. But if you think, I just need some juice, and it'll get me through another hour or 2, actually.
Yeah.
So it's a very different way of life.
And I guess pre-planning. If you know you're going to be busy for the next couple of hours, do 2 juices instead of just one, knowing that you're going to have that juice later on.
Yeah.
I had a prime example this morning. I was busy running out of the house to get to a client, and I was still pretty full. I was like, well, I knew in a couple of hours, just before the client, I'd probably need something, a juice or something. I thought, well, I'll make the juice. And I thought, well, and I'm sort of trying to rush out the door. I was like, I'll be fine. Yeah. And I got on the public transport, and I got about 10 minutes down the road, and my stomach grumbled. I was like, I really wish I'd made a juice.
Yeah. Well, one trick that they taught me that I've started doing is to make carrot juice last longer.
Oh, okay.
Whereas anything with greens in it is more perishable for the nutrients.
Okay.
So make, in the mornings, make more than 1 carrot juice and put them, they use mason jars with small 8-ounce mason jars and tighten the lids down on them. And then you put them in the refrigerator, and they'll last, half a day.
Oh, really?
It depends, how perfectionistic you're being about it. Some people say they last a whole day, and, it's all debatable. But in general, if you consume them throughout the day and you made them in the morning, you're fine with the carrot and carrot apple juices, whereas greens really should be consumed quickly. So that's another trick. Make a bunch of carrot juice in the morning. So
cool.
Anyway, I'm playing with all this, and my old life is intersecting with my new life, and we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, good. Well, we'll see how you get on next week. You've got another busy week coming up this week anyway. So
the garden,
I
moved from my house into my garden now, so but after that, there's no space left for me to change. So
I've got a bad feeling that as soon as you've done that, you're going to say that you're moving and you're going to do this all over again.
I have planned the 4th story on my 3-story house already. It's like as soon as I got the final inspection, I'm like, a bedroom on the top floor would be awesome. It would have wouldn't it? It would have a great view.
Well, maybe we'll save that for 2013.
Okay.
Maybe we can get some work done before we...
we'll try.
Well, week...
Yeah, how was your week?
It was because you were no longer at your retreat, and I guess I felt I was no longer on my retreat, so work kicked in a lot more, and we sort of...
You did, yeah.
We've sort of come up with a new idea.
Oh, right, yeah. When I was away, he came up with this brilliant idea, actually.
Which we're working on, and we'll let you guys know a little bit more when it's closer to being done. We're pretty excited about it.
Well, we'll give them little clues, but I won't give them much. But it actually came out of someone who was using the website and had some issues with how they could use it. And we'll just leave that little secret clue.
Yeah, it's exciting. We're really trying to put some finishing touches on it and really get it out there, because it's going to be a real beneficial tool for a lot of people that are struggling with this. So I'm excited about it. It's excitement that's pushing me through
So you're back at the computer, right? You're tied to the a little bit?
I guess it's more, it's interesting. It really ties in with when we talked about the mind, the holistic part. Mm-hmm. And I'm still up 5:30 in the morning. I've still got my juice. I'm still doing the exercises, but my mind is a little bit more somewhere else.
Distracted, yeah.
So where before, maybe I would do the peripheral exercise and then I would walk to do a juice and I could still hold the periphery and it's still part of the exercise.
Right.
I'm off in creation land, wherever
right, mental creation land, yeah.
And
Will's playland.
And I'm telling him it's a scary place, and I'm telling myself
it's full of funny mirrors and stuff.
It is, and I'm telling myself, periphery, and it's good because at least I'm still reminding myself. But it's certainly less time, sort of. There's less discovery time, less discovery space, and it's like, oh, okay, well, let's just do 10 more minutes of the exercise, or let's go palm now, or let's go sun now for 10. It's like, wow,
I have this brilliant idea.
I say, well, I just need to get this done first, and then you think, okay, well, all right, well, now I'll go do some sunning, and it's like, well, let me just finish this, and then before you know it, it's the end of the day,
right,
and you haven't done any of it. So it's getting back into that idea of forcing yourself to make those breaks.
Yeah.
Good.
So
to do those breaks, and then to do the sunning, do the palming, do the obstruction glasses. Go and do a peripheral exercise for 10 minutes just to break up the space. And really, when you think about it, in a couple of weeks' time, hopefully, the product will be done. It's out there, ready for people to get. But I've still got my vision. If that makes sense. So if I haven't done those exercises, okay, the product's done and it's done, but my vision isn't any better.
Yeah.
And in fact, it will probably be worse. And, I would have maybe lost the gains.
Yeah.
I just, one of my clients today sort of disappeared for a few months, and she came back today and noticed that her vision, she was working really hard on it. She spent a good 6 months doing the exercises, and then she had a few months break, and she did notice that she wasn't seeing as clearly as she was before, because she wasn't doing the exercises, and she wasn't doing the practice.
That's good.
So, that in itself is very valuable. Yeah, because there was that comparison there.
Sort of like me eating a hamburger and feeling bad. Yes. Oh, I guess it makes me feel bad.
So it's really interesting, and again, like what you talk about, how you're integrating the new diet into your new life.
Right.
I'm sort of trying to integrate my new discoveries with the eye exercises, and how does that fit into my life, and fitting into being able to function more in the dark and all the rest of it. So it's really interesting. I like it because it's sort of, you have that time. Miss Schneider always says that when you're busy, then that's your busy time, but when you do get some time to do the exercises, then try and make the most of it. Extend your program. If you do find that you've got a couple of hours, instead of being like, well, my program's only an hour a day, really try and do those 2 hours.
Right.
And really try and make the most of it. One thing I've learned this week, and I don't want our listeners to freak out about this, but I realized that I really do need to spend more time doing the exercises to really engage my brain and really set it in permanently.
Right.
But I guess I'm in a different situation. I'm also trying to discover this for other people as well, and for our listeners. So there's a little bit more on it.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll do the work so you guys don't have to as much.
Yeah. You are inventing whole new exercises. I have to give you that this last month.
Yeah.
Nobody ever has. I've never heard anyone talk about peripheral meditation ever.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah,
I'm coming up with some more stuff as well. I'm saving it for my next book.
All right.
So it's been a good week. It's been a busy week. I'm looking forward to next week and see if I can now integrate the two and come to a nice happy medium.
Right.
Of doing the work and the exercises at the same time.
Sounds good.
Well, it's a good time to move on to topic of the week.
And the topic of the week this week is Understanding a Holistic Approach to Natural Vision Improvement, Blood Flow, Part 5.
So last week we talked about muscle tension and how a big downside of muscle tension, as far as the body is involved in the holistic approach, and how the body is really part of how we can improve our eyesight. Then it meant that it was restricting the blood flow. Now, this week we're going to talk a little bit more specifically on how blood flow is good for the eyes, and how blood flow in general is good for us.
And first of all, it's delivering nutrition to all of the body cells, but in particular, I guess we're going to talk about the retina and other parts of the eye. And in particular, just for a very basic example, is bringing vitamin A which is a part of what's called phototransduction, the process of turning light into electricity so it can be used by the brain, uses vitamin A in that process. So you need to consume. Here I'm stuck on the Gerson thing. You need to consume vitamin A.
Yeah.
And actually your liver needs to be involved as well. And then it needs to be delivered by the blood flow to your retina. And
especially if you're someone like myself with retinitis pigmentosa, where they don't necessarily know what it is, but they know there's a dysfunction there with the phototransduction of the rod cells, or with the regenerating with the vitamin A. Then, hey, let's just give the eyes what it needs,
right,
to try and figure out whatever it is that's going on.
And that's why you do juicing, to flood that whole system with vitamin A as well as other vitamins.
But if you don't have that good blood flow, then you can have all the nutrients you want.
Yep.
But if you don't have the delivery system,
right,
then it's not going to get there. You can spend $10,000 on a new bed, but if you don't have a good delivery system to take that from the store to your house, then you're
never going to get the bed.
You're just sleeping on the floor, and trust me, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. So, and then you need it's a delivery system, but it's also a waste removal system. So, well, in something like macular degeneration, you're dealing with both. So your poor circulation can lead to macular degeneration. In this particular wet macular degeneration, where you're in wet macular degeneration, you're growing sort of poor quality blood vessels, what's called neovascularization, and then they leak, and then that's why it's called wet macular degeneration. In the dry form, your body is not removing the waste product efficiently. So both of those are related to circulation and poor circulation.
Yeah, and it's really a whole body system. Again, I mean, we don't necessarily think about this, but our calves, they're actually involved, the calf muscles are actually involved in helping pump the blood back to our heart. It's called venous return.
Right.
Because of the gravity there, and it doesn't necessarily have the valves to help push it back up. So the muscles squeeze together and push it back up. Now, if you've got muscle tension in your calves or tight calves, or you're sitting all day and not using them, then it means that you're not pushing that blood back up to the heart. So who would ever have thought that tight calves could affect your eyes?
Right.
But really, we need to start thinking out of the box a little bit. We need to start thinking holistically, and how our whole body really does have a big factor in our vision, and indeed, more importantly, our blood flow.
Right.
And if we've got that poor blood flow, then, I mean, I'm amazed anyone can function.
Well, they don't. I mean, after a certain point,
coronary heart disease.
Exactly. With poor blood flow, all sorts of conditions develop out of that. Yeah. And I guess we're saying the delivery system of blood flow, it does involve cardiovascular fitness. So we do want you to exercise some, and clear out your veins and eat a better diet so your veins don't get clogged, things like that. But you're right to bring up the muscular system. That's what gets ignored in this whole blood flow question, is we want a relaxed body as well as a fit body, as well as an exercised body.
And there's a real misconception here with fitness, and it's that people think that if you're fit, you have good blood flow. And if you are somebody with a lot of muscle tension, like myself, when I did a lot of sprinting and impact sports, then my muscles became really stiff and tight. I had poor blood flow, but yet I was fit as a fiddle. I don't know if you have that phrase over here.
A fit what?
As fit as a fiddle.
No, we do have that. We probably stole it from you.
It doesn't make sense.
I have no idea where it comes from. Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
No.
Fiddle's not that fit, really.
Yeah.
Maybe as a fiddler. Maybe they shortened it. They must be. They're so fast when they play those things.
Yeah, I guess so.
So you could be, you could be a marathon runner. You could be running 2-3 hours a day. But if you've got tight muscles and it's restricting the blood flow, then you have poor blood flow.
Right.
So now don't take that as an excuse to never exercise, because Will and Richard said that when you exercise, it creates tension.
Right.
And you have poor blood flow.
Right.
What we're saying is that you need to, again, find that happy medium between the two. You need to be fit. You want to have the healthy heart in order to pump good blood around the body. You need that drive in order to want to have the heart pump more blood around the body. And as Richard says, that it's not just about taking nutrients and oxygen to the cells, it's also having that waste product taken away, which very few people think about. And if you're exercising and you've got a higher heart rate, then obviously you're doing that on a rapid base.
Right.
So, but exercise doesn't necessarily mean running a marathon. It could be walking for 30 minutes a day.
Exactly.
And indeed, I was listening to even something about the brain, again the other day, about neuroplasticity and how the brain is constantly changing. And they even said there that just walking half an hour a day is enough to keeps your mind active, it keeps it fresh, and it's really just exercising the whole body by doing that. And obviously with something like oxygen, our cells can't function without oxygen. That's how things work. So by having a good blood flow system, we're really getting that oxygen to the cells that they need. And it also means that we're taking the waste products away. And it's just a healthy environment. I always like the analogy of if the waste disposal people went on strike. And or just think back to the medieval times when people used to just put their trash outside on the street. And it was just a horrible environment. People got sick and you got the plague and all the rest of it. Now you could imagine that if you're creating a toxic environment for your cells, then they're going to be like those people. They're just not going to function as well as they could.
Right. I heard this example when I was on that Gerson thing of like, apparently New York would think of yourself as New York City.
Okay.
It's a little more modern example, but I get what you're saying. And apparently that New York would starve in a day and a half if they cut off the bridges. And that's like your blood flow.
I can hear all these people in New York now freaking out.
Like people would start to starve. Well, maybe you don't. I think you could starve in a day. You could start to starve. Well, maybe not. But anyway, in a day and a half, people would start to suffer from malnutrition, let's say, in New York if they just cut the bridges off because the trucks of food bringing on to the island of Manhattan would be stopped. And imagine that when New York has experienced this many times, if the garbage men go on strike, it starts to stink pretty quickly also. So New York's a perfect example of really the way we are, where they're very sensitive to, that inflow and outflow.
So now certain conditions, like we just said there, if you've got poor blood flow that could occur, well, we were just saying there that if you've got a toxic environment, then your immune system's going to be low, and then any sort of kind of sickness can obviously occur from that. And
then sickness and then inflow or outflow, you could create a sickness because the waste product isn't being taken away, and that's dry macular degeneration.
Yeah.
Or you could be not having the nutrition coming in, and that's somewhat diabetic retinopathy, but not quite the perfect analogy there.
But you could say with the diabetic retinopathy,
optic atrophy is a perfect analogy, actually.
Okay,
yeah, there you go.
So why don't you explain a little bit more?
Well, optic atrophy is the lack of, and sometimes it happens suddenly, and sometimes it happens genetically. Like with me, you don't get enough blood flow to the optic nerve strands, and the part of the optic nerve dies off. Okay. And that can happen from a tumor or other things that restrict.
And that can also happen at any age, right? Any sort of, I know at the school at the moment we've got somebody visiting from Portugal, and she's here for 2 weeks, and she's developed optic atrophy from the last couple of months, a year, where she was getting restricted blood to the optic nerve.
Yeah, or and people get it from lack of oxygen in some sort of surgery or something like that. Okay. Just that will starve the optic nerve. So it's the lack of delivery of what's needed to the optic nerve.
And with the diabetic retinopathy, it's a case of the capillary cells and the vessels in the eye are becoming weak, so they start leaking.
Yeah.
And then you start getting, blood starts leaking into the vitreous humor, which is the fluid in the eye, and you start experiencing lots of floaters, which is why they say that if all of a sudden you start seeing lots of floaters or flashes, head straight to the emergency department and get your eyes checked out. 1 or 2 is okay. Obviously, you should always get it checked. Unfortunately, today I was talking to one of our friends who has also been working a while on her vision, and she noticed the same thing, that she was out and she just noticed these floaters in her eye, and she said all of a sudden it went black. And she said that was pretty scary. So that wasn't from diabetic retinopathy. That was from multiple conditions that she had, like glaucoma, etc., where the system got weakened. But it's just an example of how the blood flow really is a real unique system in our eyes, and it's just so fine-tuned. So when you have something like diabetic retinopathy, where those vessels start to become weak and then they start leaking, then it starts causing havoc with our eyes. Now, a good example of a holistic approach is obviously one of the best ways to work with that is, if you've got diabetic retinopathy, is to work with the diabetes itself and to start eating a healthier lifestyle. Well, don't eat a healthy lifestyle. You'd be really full. Start eating healthier, start exercising, more regularly and steadily, and start dealing with the diabetes as well as the eye exercises as well.
Yeah. And that's a holistic approach to that condition as well.
So a good example there, many different ways that blood flow can affect us. And, instead of getting freaked out here about all these conditions, I mean, in a way it's good, because, it just brings more importance on why you should be working on having healthy vision. And even if you're somebody in your early 20s, thinking, well, diabetic retinopathy isn't until I'm in my 60s, or macular degeneration isn't until my 70s. This is about prevention, as well as
it's too late when you're, well, it's not too late, but it would be better to start now than to wait till you're 75.
And it's not a case of going through your life, not doing anything because you're scared of, it's not about that. It's just a common sense approach. Prevention is better than cure. And if you can avoid these conditions, then it's certainly worth.
And you're going to have a healthier and happy life anyway.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, let's move on to question of the week.
And the question of the week comes from someone who's following up on our Pinhole question, which was a couple weeks ago, and wants to know specifically what to do with pinholes. So
in particular, she was asking, how long do I wear the pinholes? What do I do? And I guess we'll separate this up a little bit. And I guess the answer is, it's not really an exercise per se, the pinhole glasses.
No, it's really a substitute for both reading glasses and distance glasses for myopia. Well, I guess for farsightedness as well. Yeah, so it's really a substitute for prescription glasses.
Yeah, more so refractive errors.
Right.
And even people with other conditions, because they find it makes images crisper.
Right.
Will use their eyes naturally more because of that. And say you've got one eye that is weaker than the other, then maybe when you're obstructing, if you obstruct with the pinholes, then it might be easier to use that eye, and the brain might become more engaged with it.
Okay, yeah, that's, I think. And what was this person's
particular... So it was, she wanted to know how many hours a day to wear pinhole glasses.
Oh my goodness! Now I guess we did confuse people that way, because they were meant to be carried in your shirt pocket and pulled out when you have trouble reading something, and you would normally pull out your prescription glasses or your dime store reading glasses. You would pull out the pinholes instead.
Yeah. So try not to think of it as an exercise per se. It's not like palming where you sit and palm for 10 minutes.
Right.
It's more of a replacement for your prescription glasses.
Right.
And again, we're here supporting natural vision improvement, and you could argue that pinholes aren't necessarily natural.
Right.
So we want you to use your eyes as natural as possible. And I know one of our clients, she finds it difficult to use the pinhole glasses to read in the evening, because it's meant to be done ideally in
bright light. Yeah.
So for that, I recommend one of those full spectrum lights. What do you call them here?
Full spectrum lights.
Okay, great. Now you would call them far spectrum light.
Well, that's true. I can't say it the way you do, but yeah.
I don't know what that accent was. But that's more of a white light. And again,
more
I think
light.
There's one on our resources page
on
our website at envisionselfhealing.com. So head over there, and you'll also see some Pinhole glasses over there. But ideally, when you're using them, you're using them in the best possible lighting. Because they do dim things, right? Because
they do, yeah. And I use them more in the outdoors, but maybe it's my condition where I have more trouble seeing like street signs and things like that, and I would pull them out there.
So what we recommend is use your natural vision first,
right?
If nothing, unless you're obstructing. Then, if you want to read something or you want to make something clearer, maybe somebody's face clearer,
right? Reach
for the pinholes before
put them on
prescription.
Look, but then put them away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then if it's a safety situation or the pinholes really aren't doing it for you, then you go for the glasses.
Right. And again, we would say use them when you need to use them, then take them off.
Yeah.
Same philosophy.
But I guess it depends. I mean, a lot of people like reading, I suppose, in their leisure time. I myself have just completely converted to audiobooks.
Which is a very good thing, actually. Yeah,
because I want to rest my eyes.
Yeah,
and that's a good tip there for anybody that wants to rest their eyes in the evening. And you can really find most books now.
Oh my God, yeah.
On audiobook.
Yeah,
you really don't need to be. But some people like the leisurely reading. I don't know. So in which case, then you're wearing your pinholes. Then again, try and not wear your glasses first without straining. See if you can read. The problem is people go, well, I read and then my eyes get tired, so I have to wear my glasses. Of course, when your eyes get tired, that's when you should palm, stop reading or distance looking or something. So I guess when you say how long should I wear the pinholes for, I guess it's really how long are you using them? Are you if you're somebody that reads 3 hours a day, well, then you're going to be wearing pinholes for 3 hours a day.
That's true, yeah.
If you're someone like myself, listens to audiobooks, maybe I would use the pinholes when I'm on the computer. Pinholes don't work for me. They don't work for everyone. So I don't actually use pinhole glasses.
Right.
So, so it's a little bit more information there. Clear up a little bit more on that topic. They are, one thing I like so much about pinholes is people are so shocked.
They look cool, right?
Let me elaborate that a little bit. They're shocked at how good their vision is.
Oh, okay, good.
When they wear the pinholes,
right?
They're looking at a book. They've got presbyopia, farsighted, and they put these pinhole glasses on, and all of a sudden they can. It's crisp. How can this be? Why have I never heard about these? Why am I?
Yeah.
So certainly give them a go. They're what $30 or something on Amazon. Or wherever. So if you're interested, just give it a go, because it really means you're not as dependent on your prescription glasses anymore. Even though it's not necessarily natural, you're using your eyes naturally because they have to work themselves.
Right.
So really a good tool there to help improve your eyesight and just make your life a little bit easier and a bit crisper.
Great.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. If you want to find out a little bit more information, then head over to our website at envisionselfhealing.com, and you'll find there a free ebook called A Modern Day Guide for Improving Eyesight, which really does give you 10 basic tips there on how you can start improving your vision and why indeed your modern day life might actually be preventing you from having good vision. You can also get your hands on a free vision improvement program if we cover one of your conditions on our website. So just head over there and click on the conditions tab. You can also check out our Facebook fan page, and we've got a bit more information there, and feel free to send us any questions you might have there on our Facebook fan page. And I'm sure the vast majority of people that are also there might also appreciate a question or two that maybe they're a little bit shy to ask themselves. If you're listening to this on iTunes, then you could subscribe, and it means that you'll get our weekly podcast sent straight to you. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, then you can also subscribe at the top corner of the screen. Be notified every time we send this podcast out, or indeed individual blogs that we do. You can also keep up to date with us on Twitter, where we keep our audience engaged a little bit more on what we're doing, and indeed giving you some more tips on how you can improve your eyesight on a daily basis. So good luck with your eye exercises this week, and happy healing.
And have a good week.